going on, golf fans? It's your boy Gsluke here with our round 4 live stream for the Memorial. Going to get you ready for all of your prop and betting exposure. But first off, we'll look at the averages from round number 3. We'll talk through some pin locations, also the weather for tomorrow's play, and give you guys an idea of exactly how to attack these prop boards. So whether it's Prize Picks or Underdog, we'll give you guys the idea of how to attack those prop categories. Also the matchup board, so that'll be like on the sports books like Draftkings and FanDuel. We'll try and find some value for you. So if you have anything you guys want me to deep dive, you can throw that down into the live chat. Say hi when you guys are filing in as well. And also, the only thing I need from you on your end is to smash the like button. But other than that, hopefully you're having a fantastic Saturday. Ended up being a little bit of a bounce back prop day, so I was pretty stoked myself. Ended up hitting on 2 of the 4 slips that I entered, so it wasn't anything like drastic, but still a day into the positive, and that's exactly what I was hoping for after a little bit of a slow start this week. So, you got to start the momentum somehow. Maybe Sunday it'll be an even better day than today, which be the perfect way to cap off this sort of week. So that'll be our mission, our goal for the next day or so. And that being said, let's start going through these averages. So I've got the averages on the board. It played 1.84 over par, which with the windy conditions was pretty much exactly what we called for. We thought it'd play about 1.75 over. We thought the birdie average might be about 3.1, 3.2 per round. You can see ended up at 3.22 exactly. And about a 4.5 bogey average was, I thought, towards the high end of the spectrum. Maybe it'd be like 4.25 to 4.5. Ended up at 4.47. So really the golf course was, there were no surprises out there. It was exactly what we were anticipating. Fairway average went up a little bit as well. We also called for that. The moisture on the club face was the real issue for round number 3. So you saw the players hitting the short stuff a little bit more often. However, that did not translate to more greens regulation, because with those windy conditions out there, they had a hard time hitting the greens. So it was only about a 9.09 average there, which is about a green lower than rounds 1 through 2. So a distinctly harder round. And Sunday, though, the weather doesn't look as bad. The winds are only going to be in that 10-mile-an-hour range in the afternoon. The pin locations are a whole lot more difficult. So it looks a little cool in the morning. That's something else I want to throw out there, is that those early guys are going to have the ball not traveling quite as far. And the wind gusts are still in that 15 to close to 17-mile-an-hour range in the afternoon. So it's not like it's completely calm out there. So that combined with the fact that these pin locations look super tough, we're going to go through them real quickly here together, makes me think that the scoring average will be at least 1 over par. And I think closer to 1.5 over par. So actually not that different than today, even though the weather isn't going to be nearly as chaotic because of what we're about to go through. So birdie average, I think, is going to be about the same, about 3.25 per round, which at Muirfield Village is a much higher than normal birdie average. So, and I actually think there's a chance it goes down tomorrow, as crazy as that sounds. When you see the pin locations, you'll kind of start to see why I'm saying that. Bogey average, though, is going to go down quite a bit. So I think if the birdie average goes down to like 3 per round, maybe the bogey average is closer to like 3.9 or 4 per round, but you're still going to see a ton of double bogeys or worse. Hence why I think it might get close to a 1.5 over par scoring average. And these bottom 2 categories, I think the fairway average probably won't move that much, but the green average, it's going to have to go up a little bit. Without those 20-mile-an-hour winds, them getting blown all over the golf course, it's probably going to be at least 10 per round. But because they're in really tricky spots, you're still going to see it hard to score. Which, speaking of, let's just go through these pin locations. So the first hole is going to be on this front left corner. And if I could not click on the ad, it'd make our life a little bit easier. It's towards this little slope that we have in front of the green. So it's just over this false front. And if you guys have been watching the play, especially on ESPN Plus in the morning, so many people were going down that slope. And when it's a pin location towards this right side, by the way, the slope goes the whole way down here. So you're chipping from down here. You have all that green to work with. It's not that hard. But when it's just over this false front, it is literally impossible. So if you see someone short, you miss short of hole number 1, right down bogey, unless they make like a 15, 20 footer for par, that's what they're going to be making. And hole 2 is on this right side. It is close to the water and also just tucked over this bunker complex. So by far the hardest pin that you have here. I'd say the one today was probably the second hardest, but because you don't have as much room to run up shots and it is 470 yards, it's going to be a pretty tough hole location there. Next up, we have 3, which is in the back right corner. This is by far the hardest pin at this hole. In fact, this is the same pin that they used for round 1. So round 1, by the way, was a super hard round, almost played 2 strokes over par. It's a little softer now. That's why I don't think it's going to play quite as hard as round 1, but in that same sort of range because of of pin locations like you have here. Next up, we have 4, which is in the back left corner. This is the hardest pin at this hole, and it's going to make it play well over 200 yards. To this back left corner, this could be a 230, 235-yard shot that is tucked way, way in the back corner where my cursor is. So good luck to the players there. 5 is your first par 5, but it is a little tricky because it's getting close to the water, but it's a par 5, so I'd expect to see some scoring here. And because it's on the low spot, you can spin wedges back to it. So if you're laying up, I actually don't think it's like the hardest pin location that you could possibly have here. If it was closer to the back end of the green, which I think they did for round number 1, that's actually the hardest pin at hole 5, but still a little trickier than the last few days. I mean, today it was in a very unprotected spot. And then for round 2, it was at the front side of the screen. So it's going to be a little trickier tomorrow, I'd say. Hole 6 is at the back left corner, so it's in just over the water. You also have the narrowest part of the green to work with. Today was by far the easiest pin that you get at hole number 6. It was still tough if you missed the fairway to try and get it up near the green in 2, but now if you miss the fairway over here, it is impossible. You're not going to try and take a shot out of that 6-inch rough and get it over this sort of water. It is an automatic layup, and then even after you lay up, it's not the easiest wedge shot towards this back little quadrant. Next up, we have hole 7, which is the middle right side, which kind of looks easy on paper, but it's not. It is about where my cursor is right now, but you can see the slope to the left of it, which is going to make it real tough to get it close to this hole because over this green, and you can't really get a true appreciation for it unless I get out of the green view and we can take a look at this. Look at all the slope that you have here. In fact, right, Scotty hit the green and then ended up going way over. This pin location that is just onto the back here, if your predominant miss is going to be a little bit long, no one's going to get up and down to that pin location. So if you're going to get up and down to this pin, you have to, miss up front, I'd say, and one of those 2 bunkers or maybe that fairway. And even then, it's a pretty long chip and something that is not going to be super simple to get up and down. Hole 8 is in the back right corner. It's just another brutal pin location. It's about where the 1 is right now. So Scotty would be pretty close to the pin location, but he did that on accident. It's going to play like 215 yards, perhaps even into the wind tomorrow. Good luck there. Next up, we have 9, which is in the front side. So it is a shorter pin. It is at the low spot, a little bit of slope that can help you. But what this front pin does is it brings this water into play. I mean, if you miss 2-3 yards short, you're going to be in the agua and dropping for a third. So I think the scoring average is probably going to go way up because of those double bogeys, but you're going to see about the same amount of birdies, actually maybe even slightly more at hole 9, but those double bogeys are going to probably more than make up for that. Next up, we have 10, which is on the middle right of the screen. It's, I'd say, the second toughest pin. The toughest is on the back corner, which they used for round number 2. The middle right over here does make it a pretty tricky up and down if you miss to the broad side to the right. Next up, we have 11, which is a par 5, but it is a little tricky towards this left corner. It's close to this false front. That's why I say it's a little bit tricky. And if you finish in this front bunker, it's not the easiest up and down. It's a super deep bunker. You have that slope that you have to hit it over and then try and get it to stop close to the hole. So it's not terrible, though. It's not like 8, 4, like a lot of those super tough ones that we were going through before. 12, though, is one of those pin locations. It's in the back right corner. It's going to play like 185 back here. And as you can tell, they got the water to the right now because it's way back in this corner. If you miss short, it's a tough bunker shot. And then if, God forbid, if you miss over this green, you're going to see people chipping it into the water. So that one's a whole lot of fun. I love that pin location there. 13's middle left. This is kind of just like an average one. But you can tell here, guys, like normally there's a bunch of hard pins and then a couple easy ones. Have we seen one easy pin yet? At least to my knowledge, we have not seen an easy pin yet. And this one, you do have the bunker protecting it to the left. And because it is such a deep bunker, as you can see, it is a super difficult up and down. Next up, we have 14, which is in the back right corner. Dude, these pins just make me laugh because when you look at the sheet, it doesn't even look like it's on the green, right? It's 3 from the right and 35 paces on there. So how is that even on the green at that stage? It brings in the water to the right. It's a longer shot in. Going to play much, much trickier than what you had for today. 15 is a front pin. So this is the easiest pin that you have on the golf course. In fact, it's the only easy pin that you have on this kind of setup, and it's at the front. So it's in the low area here. It's a short par 5. You're going to see people going for it in 2. Heck, I think you're going to see eagles here at hole number 15. So though the rest of the golf course is set up like as hard as it possibly can, this one is the easiest possible pin that you have at hole 15. And I think it's at a perfect time, right? They give you that birdie look, with the gauntlet to come, right? The 3 holes after that. And the pin locations at the next 3 holes are laughably hard, we'd say. So let's start with 16. 16 is in the way back left corner. This is all carryover water. It's going to be tipped out. They always tip it out for Sundays. Moving day, right? Sometimes they'll move it up, but I would not expect them to move it up tomorrow to this tiny portion of green. So the water is going to come into play. You'll see doubles, but if you go over, it's almost an impossible up and down because of all the slope down there. Expect to see carnage at hole 16. And 17 is the easiest of the last 3 gauntlet here. It is a bottom left pin location. So it's another one of those just like kind of meh pin locations, kind of average. In fact, if we really wanted to stretch it, we could say that this is the second easiest pin location that we have on the golf course, but still it's a 500-yard par 4, right? So don't get your hopes up. You may see this slope behind the hole and go, oh, you can spin it off of it. No, you can't. You're not spinning a 6-iron back from 200 yards. It is going to be real difficult, especially because you can't use that slope behind it. And then finally, 18 is a pin location that on paper, you can see in the bottom right here, actually doesn't look that bad. Like it just looks like, oh, it's in like that middle left quadrant. I guess that bunker is an issue. Wrong. It is unbelievably difficult, and it is all because of this slope. If you're not looking at these slopes when you're looking at the pin locations, then you're doing it wrong. It is just on top of this slope, and it's like a couple feet away. It is as close as you can possibly get to the slope without being on it. You do have the bunker to contend with, and this slope is just ridiculous. You miss to the bottom half, 2 putting is going to be real hard. If you miss front right of the screen, chipping up to that corner is impossible. You miss over the green, and then you're chipping to that pin location. Well, because it's so close to that slope, I can tell you from experience, sure, you could hit it past it, and that would be a real big problem. But players won't do that, right? They're not going to hit it past the pin and make that much of an issue very often. You know what they will do? Leave it 10 feet short because they don't want to go past that pin location. So if you go over, probably going to have a 10-footer at best to make par, which you're going to make like half the time at best. If you do take it on and end up going past it, you're looking at a double, triple bogey if you hit it down that slope, because not only will it go down this slope, we've seen it before here at Muirfield Village, is sometimes it'll go down the slope and then off the false front and the whole way off the green. It's so diabolical. It's so funny when it happens, though. And what do you have to look out for is when they go over the screen to the back left corner is where that can happen. And I don't know if it happens tomorrow, you're just going to see me grinning from ear to ear because these tour players deserve to get tested like this from time to time. And the weather's not cooperating. If we had weather tomorrow, it'd be a +6 scoring average. Like literally these pins plus wind would be impossible. But these kind of pins plus a little bit of wind, 1.5 over par scoring average is most likely what you're going to see. And, after going through the pins for the second time now, I might even push that to a +2 scoring average. And I know it sounds crazy. It might play harder than today, but the pin locations are that drastically different. So you're going to see that, reflected with the kind of exposure that we're about to go through. Any sort of bets, by the way, and Underdog prize picks that you want me to go through, feel free to let me know. We're just going to go through a 2-leg slip that I've already entered together to give you guys an idea of the exposure I'm getting to, and then some matchups in 3 balls. So we're going to try and keep this a little bit quicker. I've got some obligations to get to tonight with some friends, but did want to get you guys this preview, so didn't want to leave you guys hanging. So let's start first off with the Shane Lowry under on bogey. So is that 3.5 bogeys, which I think is going to be a little bit below the average. I think probably about 4 bogeys or worse is where I'm comfortable projecting it. But Shane Lowry has all the makings of a guy that's playing a lot better than your field average player. So let's start with the obvious. That would be first off, his shots gained ball striking. For the week, he is gaining over 8 strokes in the category. And in fact, if we just zoom out and take a look at the entire field, he's number 2 to only Scotty Scheffler. And ball striking, the reason why this is so important is that's the most consistent part of golf. And it's not just the fact that he's ball striking it well, he's gained 8 strokes approach, which is the most important category that we have in all of golf. So for all intensive purposes, he's hitting the ball the best of everyone that we have out here. And if we take a look at the stats for this year, Shane Lowry is number 23 on tour when it comes to bogey avoidance. So I do think this is a really tough setup. However, they have a lot of elite tier guys at 3.5 bogeys here. Like Shane Lowry wasn't the only one I was looking at. Sepp Straka, if we take a look at his bogey avoidance number, he's up at number 5 on tour. If we take a look at some of the other ones, I believe it was Henley. He's number like 20 something as well. Yeah, number 23 tied with Shane Lowry actually in terms of bogey avoidance. a lot of those guys I may consider also taking for under. So, of course, for the rest of my exposure, you guys can find that on my Patreon page. You guys can see exactly which ones I end up entering and perhaps what fades I mix them in with as well. But Shane Lowry is the kind of guy that I'll take a positive stance play on, right? He's not only towards the top end of this list, but also the thing that really pushed him over the edge and made him my first play for the slate was the fact that he was hitting the ball so well as well. So it's not to say that it's only fades with that kind of setup that you can play, because obviously they've adjusted the board to account for it. And then the other one I wanted to mix in with is this Michael Kim over on strokes. So he's going off early. And if you guys remember with the weather, it's going to be cold for the first few hours. And he's got, I believe, like a 9-something tee time. Let's see. Yeah, 9:53. So it's not as early as some other players, but still cooler than what you're going to have in the afternoon. And even without a bunch of wind, this course is going to be unbelievably brutal. I mean, if you miss the fairway, it's 6-inch rough. You're hacking it out, making a bogey. These pin locations are so tough that even with good shots, sometimes you're going to end up making bogeys. Somebody like Michael Kim, who has really struggled this week, and in fact, Michael Kim has struggled in the worst way possible. If you take a look at it, he has lost over 6 strokes ball striking, almost 4 strokes off the tee, over 2 strokes with the approach play over his 3 rounds. It's a miracle that he even made the cut. I mean, he was playing dog shit the first 2 days, and he happened to make it to the weekend. Today, added some more dog shit on top of it. And I love Michael Kim. I like the fact that it gives us a peek behind the wall and everything. However, he's dealing with some back issues, and that's probably why he's not playing his best golf. He's told us in the media that he's dealing with some of these issues and that he's hiring so many people to try and get back into playing shape. I mean, if he's going to show us that kind of form and tell us that he's not feeling 100%, then yeah, I'll fade him going off early. And if I think the scoring average is going to be 1.5 over par, he could even gain a half a stroke to the field and shoot a 73, and he'd still be over this sort of line. So in general, I think the strokes board is just way, way too low. It just makes no sense. It's like they think that it's going to play easy tomorrow, which easy in like with this sort of board would be like a half a stroke over. I just don't see that. I think it's going to play at least a stroke over, maybe even a stroke and a half over par. And if that's your read on the golf course, right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. I think I'm right. I do this for a living. I break down every single slate, and I have a really good track record at breaking these kind of things down. But the sports books clearly have a different take on it, right? They obviously think it's going to play a little bit easier. It's not just price picks, but the actual sports book odds kind of reflect the same kind of sentiment, which means if you're on Draftkings, if you're on some of the other sports books and you're trying to find some value, like a lot of those overs on strokes, especially the ones that are close to even money and at 72.5, like a guy like Michael Kim, I'd be hammering at like -110 for the over. So that's how I'm approaching this kind of slate. I think it's going to be super tough, but it's not to say, right? I think Shane's a great example of that every single play that you take has to be a fade. Now, should most of them be fades? I think so. I would say with this kind of pricing that you'd probably want like a 70-30 split of fades versus positive stance plays. But because of how Prize Picks, Underdog cater their payouts based on what you take, that's why you're going to see me mixing in a few of these positive stance plays. And, as long as you're careful about it, you do your line shopping, and you find players that, are hitting the ball well, I think you can find a lot of success doing so. So as I mentioned, guys, the Patreon page is where you guys can find every single prop, every single slip that I'm entering for these rounds. On top of that, also stat averages, also weather for every single round. And just to show you guys this as well, we also have all the stuff for DFS posted there too. So if you're a fantasy player on DraftKings, we have the round 4 showdown stuff already posted for my members. These are the top 10 highest owned players over here. So Scotty, of course, going to be used by a lot of people in their DraftKings lineups. And not only do we have projections for every player, projected points, my player pool, but I give you guys the why on my plays for fantasy. So check that out as well if you guys haven't already. Let's catch up on chat, see what's going on, and then go through some matchups too. I didn't forget about you guys on the sports books. You need a Nick Taylor dub to pull off a 6K win. Damn, man. I don't have any Nick Taylor exposure, but I've got to say, now that I heard you can win 6K off of it, I'll be thinking about him, man. I hope he wins for you. I'm happy he went over strokes today. That was kind of sweet. But if he goes off tomorrow, I'm not going to bet against him now. You know what? I don't want to have that kind of karma against me. Let's hope that he has a day for you, man. Yeah, shout out to Nick Taylor. He went over for us today. Yeah, Jamari's a god, by the way. Let's go back to that. Jamari, shout out on the Nick Taylor prop. He had a heck of a day, and you get your flowers for doing so. So hit me up on Twitter, Jamari. I don't know if you're part of the Patreon page or not. I think you are, right? I'm going to comp your month because of what you did with Nick Taylor there. So hit me up and remind me if you are. I think you are. And if you're not, you can get a free month. But if you already are one, we'll just refund you. What's going on, Brian? You wonder why all the books removed greens and regulation props? Probably because of those pin locations. It kind of sucks that Prize Picks and Underdog did too. I just wish we would have that market to bet. In fact, they have them posted for the DP World Tour. So yeah, something to do with the golf course, I would say. What's going on, Mark? Long time no see. Checking into props straight to the DFS streets. What's going on, Wayne? He said, Luke had a day today. Nice work, brother. I appreciate that, man. And I wish that McIntyre wouldn't have hooked us. That would have made it even better because then the stream slip would have hit on top of that. But yeah, at least we had a decent day in the Patreon page, that's for sure. And he said, told you guys he would rake. You did, Bobby. He also told us that Ben Griffin would win. That was after the first round, by the way. This wasn't yesterday. He did say it yesterday too, but that's all right, Bobby. We love you. And he's in second place. If we could take down Scotty, that would be a heck of a call as well. So I hope he pulls through for you, man, because I don't think Jordan, I don't think Straka are going to end up winning this. Those are the two guys I have for outrights. I mean, they're in the top 5. That's great, but they're starting so far back of those two that, you know, if it's not Griffin that wins, I hope it's Nick Taylor for our guy in chat. All right, let's find a matchup and then get on out of here. So just like yesterday, I'm trying to find some underdogs that just don't make sense, which, by the way, one of those two hit. And because they were plus money, we did profit on our matchup exposure. So that was nice to get last night as well. But let's find another underdog that just like is like a what the heck are these books doing kind of thing. And these ones so far make sense for the most part. Like, I think Novak should be a bigger favorite than -150, but we are looking for an underdog to try and take for one of these 3 balls. Dietrich should definitely be the underdog against Hovland. I don't disagree against that. Yeah, Hughes should definitely be the favorite against Snedeker, but should he be -200? Probably not, I would say. Cebu versus Finau. Yeah, Cebu's form's a little better. I understand why he'd be the slight favorite, but like, I know Cam Young isn't in the best form. Kind of surprising that he's only -125 there. Oh, but okay, so this is my favorite so far. Definitely this Bud Colley at -125. I'm a big Eric Cole guy too. I mean, he's from South Florida. I've met him in person before a few times. You only hear great things about Eric from the people that I know that have played with him. But Bud Colley is playing some really good golf. He's one of my top plays for this week. Today, just could not buy a putt for his life. It was also the same thing in round number 1. And then he bounced back with a really good short game day. So maybe Bud Colley at -125 could be a look. Akshay, okay, now this is definitely one. Akshay versus Kuchar. Akshay should not only be -125. Kuchar is getting towards the senior tour, and I know he had a really good day today. In fact, he was one of the 2 matchups that didn't hit, right? He shot -1. He beat us by 1. Who was it going to? I forget who it was going against him. The other one was Straka, right? Who kicked Sibu Kim's ass. We were able to cash that one. But yeah, Kuchar got us by 1 stroke on that one matchup. Let's see who else we can mix in. Hoagie, McIntyre. I think that makes a little bit of sense. Maybe Gerard at +140. Like, I don't hate fading Corey Connors, partially because Corey Connors isn't necessarily my favorite player on tour. But also, I think it makes sense. Like, that's just +140 is too much on a guy like Ryan Gerard. Let's go with these in the matchups. So these are going to be the 3 that I try and line shop. As we've already talked about in the other live streams, Hard Rock Bet is super late to post these. In fact, they probably won't post them until either super late tonight or perhaps tomorrow morning. So if I can get a similar number on these 3 and hopefully a little bit of a better number because they have the tie in the market as well, you're going to see me adding these 3 to my card. And I probably won't play a parlay or anything with all 3. I'll end up entering them as straights. That's what I usually decide to do. If you want to enter them as a parlay for shits and gigs, we did hit on that for our round 2 parlay. All 4 of the matchups that we pointed out ended up hitting. So I know we had somebody in the chat that commented afterwards, like they all hit for like some massive parlay or something. Just if you do that sort of thing, you know, it's great. The guy who hit, by the way, probably is like, why are you telling me not to do it? I hit on that in round number 2. Just long term, the straights are the better idea. So that's where I put most of my exposure, most of my units. The straights we're trying to find the value for the straight bets, right? So that's why I try to focus on that. But yeah, parlay exposure can be fun at times as well. But that's all I've got, guys. Best of luck with your round 4 exposure. Gonna get to my obligations tonight. Some little bar crawl that we're doing, a little food getting in the belly beforehand. And like I said, some good times with the buddies. So hopefully the only thing I could add on top of that to make it even better is if we have ourselves a good Sunday slate. So best of luck with all of your exposure. Check out the Patreon page, as I was saying, for every single slip that I'm entering. And I'll see you guys for all the content next week.